Alright, the anticipated lesson 4-1 assignment homework help video. Okay, so let me go ahead and discuss the front page with y'all first. It says classify the relationship between each pair of angles as alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and don't forget the same side interior, okay? So I have already labeled which ones are the interior angles, the exterior angles, and this, by the way, is the transversal itself. So hopefully that will help you figure out, okay, if you're looking at the problems and trying to determine the relationship, just look at this picture and then choose one of them, okay? So make sure that you're using your notes / the pink sheet to answer those questions. So for this particular, this portion of the homework assignment, a plane parallel to plane ACD. So this right here, this is plane ACD, and remember, you need 3 points to name a plane. So I know for sure this is the plane that we're going to be using or / referencing because it has ACD. You're going to have to give me a plane parallel to this, okay? And to remember, to name a plane, you need to have 3 points. You need to have 3 points. Number 18, a segment parallel to segment EN. And remember, when you're talking about parallel, lines must be the parallel lines must be on the same plane, right? And they don't intersect whatsoever. So you have to give me a parallel line, or in this case a segment, that is on the same plane as segment EN, okay? So I have already given you the setup for it. You're going to fill it in. You need to write segment blah 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 is parallel to segment EN. Number 20, a segment skew to segment CL through point E. Your answer must include E. And remember, skew lines, or segments in this case, skew means that lines that don't intersect but are in different planes, okay? That's number 20. And then here, this should be, it says in the figure, measure angle 1 is equal to 94. That's measure angle 1. Find the measure of each angle. Tell which posture with theorem to use. Again, use your resource for this one. Go back to your notes / pink sheet to answer these questions. And make sure that you're justifying. It's always important that you justify. Don't give me the answer. You're going to have to justify with postular theorem. And then do the same thing for this one as well. Okay? Find the value of the variables in each figure. Explain your reason. It's just this. It's kind of like this, but you're going to be doing some algebra in this case. For number 8 here, you can see that we got 2 lines here cut by a transversal, and these lines are parallel because of the feathers that you can see. So these lines are parallel. If you were to look at this, I would definitely start with noticing the linear pair here, because that's going to help you solve for x, okay? And what does it mean to be a linear pair? You have x and a 55. Try to set up your equation, solve for x, and then figure out what y is, okay? This one should be a piece of cake. I would recommend that you label if you don't see it, and then this one should be a piece of cake, and again, you should definitely label. This 2x minus 5 goes to this angle here, and this x plus 55 is this angle there, okay? Yes, this one is the weird one. It says in the figure that measure angle 11 is 62 and measure angle 14 is 38. Find the measure of each angle. Tell which posture theorems that you use. So just by looking at this, you can see that we have parallel lines cut by 2 transversals. Okay, we can say transversal 1, and this is transversal 2. I am going to help you figure out what number 12 is, and then we're going to look at number 16 together, because I think if I give you some way for you to figure how to do this problem, and that's number 12, then I can help you figure out what number 16 is, okay? So, or actually, let me rephrase that. If I tell you how to do number 12, I think that's going to help you with these problems, and then we're going to get into number 16, okay? So, So we know that the measure angle 11 is 62. So let's just write that. So this is 62, and then what else? Measure angle 14 is 38. Okay, so what I want to go ahead and do is, I noticed that I have these parallel lines, and they're not going to change whatsoever. Okay, so I'm just going to draw those parallel lines. And I'm looking for the measure angle 3, and 3 is right here. So just by looking at that 3, what is it closest to? Like, which transversal is it closest to? Is it this one, or is it this one? Well, I can see that 3 is going to be hitting this transversal here. So that means I'm just going to take note of that, okay? And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste that there. And then I'm going to label that angle 3, okay? And now, the question is, okay, which one should I use? Should I use the measure 11, or measure angle 11, or the measure angle 14? And really, I just want to go ahead and see which one's closer to this particular transversal. So here's 11, here's 14. I can see that 11 is pretty much close to this transversal here. So let's go ahead and label that. And again, we know that measure angle 11 is 62, right? So if I have these parallel lines cut by a transversal, just by looking at 3 and 11 here, well, these angles are alternate. That's for sure, right? These angles are alternate, and they're also exterior angles. So by the alternate exterior angles theorem, since this is 62, measure angle 3 also has to be 62 degrees by the alternate exterior angles theorem, okay? So that's for sure how you're gonna figure that out. So go ahead and start labeling that. That's 62, right? So we're gonna put 62 here, okay? So that's number 12. For number 16, this one's a little weird because my goal here is to figure out what the measure angle 2 is, right? And all of these, they do relate to each other, okay? That's no doubt about it. So you can definitely use, remember we had that measure angle 3 being 62 here? That's going to be important because now, look, I can see that I need to figure out this measure angle 2, okay? But that's the weird one. So if I were to tell you, hey, if we can figure out what measure angle 1 is, and we already figured out what measure angle 3 is, then we can set up our algebraic equation if we need to, because this, if I add all these angles up, add these 3 angles up, that's going to give me 180 degrees, okay? So this right here is 62, right? So if I do the same thing as I did before, I can figure out what measure angle 1 is. So draw the transversal so I can see it. That 1 is part of this transversal there, so I'm going to put 1 here. And 14, that was our given. We already know what 14 is, and it's part of this transversal, right? So I put 14 there. And that is 38, and then this also has to be 38 because of the alternate exterior angles theorem, if you didn't catch on. So here, that's 38, and if we want to figure out what measure angle 2 is, you remember this whole thing, if I add these angles up, they're going to equal to 180. So I can do measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2 plus measure angle 3, and I substitute, that's 38 plus measure angle 2. Actually, I got to equal this to 180, I forgot, sorry. Plus 62 equals 180. This and this, that's going to give me 100, right? Measure angle 2 plus 100 is equal to 180. Then I do algebra, that should give me 80 degrees. So this is 80 degrees, okay? And all those things, if you're able to tell me the steps that you did, well, you said, oh, well, Mr. N, this is, I found angle 1, or the measure of angle 1, because of the alternate exterior angles, because I see that angle 1 and angle 14 are congruent, and angle 3 and angle 11, that was, what we found before, blah, blah, blah. And then you know for sure that these angles add up to 180. They're, this is a straight line, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Hopefully this makes sense. You're able to break it down and then try to figure out what you need to figure out. Find the value of the variables in each given figure. Explain your reason. This stuff is just algebra. So go ahead and use your pink sheet / notes to figure those out. Now this one's a little weird because it requires you to basically just extend the lines. Okay, so notice that with these feathers, they are parallel. So this is parallel to that, okay? So when you see these lines, go ahead and extend those lines. Extend those lines here. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing a dashed line when I can just use a solid line. So these are your parallel lines, okay? Now, they're going to be actually cut by 2 transversals here. So, yeah. Go ahead and do the same thing for the other one. So here are your parallel lines. And then it's going to be cut by 2 transversals. And then do that for, oops, that's not the parallel lines. And then cut by 2 transversals. Okay, so if I were to look at this, I'm like, okay, how do I set up my equation? First of all, you're gonna have to use the transversal that really involves what you need to do, and then cover up the other one, if that makes sense. So for instance, here are your parallel lines cut by 2 transversals. This one is oriented differently than what we are used to. So I need you to make sure that you tilt your head, or you can actually just redraw it. So I will have something like this, if that makes sense. So, and my parallel lines are here, right? So it's here and here. So it should be, if I were to rotate it, should look like that. And 94 goes here, 96 goes here. And then this is 3y plus 44. And this one is 2x, okay? So then, now I can just go ahead and, did I do this right? I think I did this right. Yes, I did. What does that say? 3y plus 44? Good, okay, because these look like 4s to me. That's kind of weird. Here, let me rewrite this. 3y plus 44. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and figure out the variables that I need. I need to figure out x and y. So I can see that I have these parallel lines cut by 2 transversals here. I can see that 94 and 3y plus 44, they are on the same side of the transversal. I don't need to look at this stuff right now, okay? Because I got a whole number here, and I got 1 variable here, okay? I don't want to have 2 different variables, if that makes sense, because that will just confuse me at all. So, again, I have 2 lines cut by transversal. These angles here are same side and also on the inside. So that's same side interior angle. So that means I got to equal those angles to 180. They're supplementary. So 94 plus 3y plus 44 is equal to 180. Combine, that is just going to give me, what is this going to give me? 138. 3y plus 138 equals 180. So minus the 138 on both sides, and that should give me, if I can find my calculator, I guess I gotta use my computer. That's 42, right? 3y is equal to 42, which verifies 94 plus 44 is real fast. Let's see, 94 plus 44 is 138. Okay, so now 3y is equal to 42. 42 divided by 3, that's 14. So y is equal to 14. Perfect, okay? So that's one of my answers. Y is equal to 14. And then I got to go ahead and figure out x, right? And so now previously I was using this transversal and these two angles. Now I don't need to use them anymore because now I have these two lines cut by this transversal here, right? So now 96 and 2x, they are same side and also on the inside. So I do 96 plus 2x equals 180 minus 96 on both sides. So that is 84. So 2x is equal to 84. X is equal to 42. So x is equal to 42. Okay? So, yeah, that's pretty much how you're supposed to do these problems. If it helps you, just make sure that you orient it if you prefer. I think this is fine. This one needs to be oriented because the transversals, not the transversals, the parallel lines are facing this way. It's like vertical lines. So if you can make them more horizontal and then see it, then you're able to do these problems without any issues. Okay? So, yep, good luck with your homework. And if you have any questions, you know what to do.